Got everyone?
Yeah. Okay, I think we're all here now.
Well, good morning everybody. My name's Paul. I'm the caretaker of the Laratinga Wetlands. I've got my associate here, Emma. Emma is the Environmental Projects or the Projects Officer. So we work sort of hand in hand with another group of people and actually manage the whole area of Laratinga Wetlands. I'll give you a brief rundown of Laratinga Wetlands, actually how it came into being. It was an initiative of the Mount Barker Council back in 1997. Wastewater, especially grey water, was received into a treatment plant, and that water was treated and then it was discharged into this creek which runs parallel with Laratinga. That's called Laratinga Creek, and that catches into the Bremer system which flows into the lower lakes, into the Coorong. The problem with treating wastewater is it's very high in nutrients, and so what they worked out or found out was that the high nutrient content of the water was being pumped down the creek and we're getting blue-green algae outbreaks. So the EPA says you can't do that anymore, you've got to find another way to use treated water, grey water, hence why Laratinga came into fruition. By the year 2000, Laratinga was actually complete. There were half a million cubic metres of soil were moved around through this low-lying area to create Laratinga Wetlands, and planting began back in 2000. So this is year 13, so this is its 13th birthday this year. A lot of the plants through here were planted by community groups and school groups. It comprises probably about 100 acres of land. Probably about 80% of that is underwater, so it's a huge area. And by the time the water is received into the treatment plant, to the time it's gone through and the water, what we call water polishing, which the nutrient level is reduced in the water, by the time it reaches the end, it could be anywhere up to 100 to 155 days. And that water then is utilised in the market gardens across the road you probably see on your trip. Also a lot of parks and gardens around the area that the council maintain, and also for dust suppression on dirt roads and stuff as well. The Canman 2 copper mine, they also utilise a lot of the water, and so very little discharge is actually put in the creek. We do discharge a little, but good corporate practice is probably trying to eliminate that as much as possible. Very limited in our speech this morning because we're very pressed for time. So what we'll do is we'll take you along the yellow brick road, we'll take you up and expose you to a lot of the wetland. We'll stop along various spots along the way and just have a bit of a chat and just point out things of interest.
Don't worry about it, Tom. He won't be able to give you a hard time. Like he has everyone else.
Just like to acknowledge that we are on Paramount land here, and that's what Laratinga is named after, the Paramount word for Mount Barker Creek or flooding land.
Yep.
So we'll just have a few stops on the way.
Are these free barbecue?
Free? Yep. Yeah, there's toilets here if you do need a toilet. They're free as well.
Thank you.
A careful consideration was given to the remnant eucalypts that actually were on the land. You'll probably see some of the big eucalypts on your way in past the barbecues, and there's some more around the place as well. So as it was being engineered, it was carefully engineered. A great deal of thought was actually given into how we're going to develop it, how it was going to be dug out, what sort of areas we're going to have open to it. So I think it's quite marvellous actually working here and realising some of the things that they had to consider. So what they've considered, Laratinga comprises of 3 main ponds. This area through here being the largest of the ponds. When you got off the bus you would have faced one of the ponds. That is a continuation through this area here. Now each pond comprises of cells, so they're all broken up into cells, which I mean by cell, there's a sill which runs across. You can probably see about midway across this lagoon. You can't see it at the moment because the water level's high, but there is a concrete berm or a sill perfectly level across there, and what that does, it causes the water to back up and to pool. If we didn't have them in, all we'd have is a little stinky rotten creek that would flow down to the end and not much good to look at all. It also opens the water up, which allows the sunlight to do its job. Sunlight also reduces the nutrient load in the water through algae and algae blooms, which is the good algae, not the blue-green algae. And also the aquatic vegetation, they also do their job in reducing the nutrient load in the water. Also the plantings around the end of each basin or each pond, the riparian plantings, they also utilise and access that nutrient load and reducing it further and further still. Okay, any questions?
Each basin that you'll see has different vegetation associations and that are designed to be a habitat for different types of species as well. So you'll see that the last basin that you walked in on is quite open, there's not much fringing vegetation, whereas this one has got a lot more reeds, and the depths of the wetland varies throughout the entire wetland from about 0.25 to 1.25 metres or 2.25 metres in the deeper sections.
Right, keep going. Called the Narrows. It's predominantly just put there as just a visual spot for vegetation or aquatic vegetation, as an ornamental aquatic vegetation area. It's actually under rehabilitation at the moment. There was a bit of an outbreak of some pikuya, some grass in there, some water cooch. So we're in the process at the moment of trying to eradicate that. It's not an easy job. We'd have a very short window, very small window of eradication. As you can see, it's starting to die off a little bit now. It's been swabbed just wiped with a bit of glyphosate. We don't try not to spray into water where possible, so it's just a wipe with a paintbrush. It's actually an applicator we use, and we try and sort of slow it down or eradicate it that way. So the window opportunity now is gone because the frogs and the tadpoles are starting to get active coming into winter time. So we'll have to have another attack at it next time, and hopefully we'll rehabilitate this area so you can actually, it's just full of reeds, rushes, and whatever other vegetation we can actually get in there. If you look further upstream,
Is that because it wasn't taken out properly in the first place?
no, it just has a habit of appearing all over the place. A little bit will break off and it'll take root somewhere, so you've got to be vigilant for that. You can probably hear some water cascading just up the top. That's what I was talking about, a berm or a sill, which backs the water up, and it backs up here and the water's allowed to overflow and then continue on downstream. So as we walk back up, have a look at that, take a picture, sit on the rock and have a bit of solace. It's quite nice.
You can see the shade cloth over there is our council nursery, so we do a lot of propagating of seeds, and all of our native plants go in there ready for tree planting season. So Laratinga Wetland is also a part of a education program for schools in the area, so we take school groups through here and we do macroinvertebrate studies and bird watching and water testing, and they also do propagating of the seeds and a lot of tree planting, which in the recreation area, all of that vegetation around the big eucalyptus trees were done by school groups.
Is there any questions? Great, we'll move on, just watch those people come up.
On the island, obviously, because it's safe from predators and foxes, there's none there at the moment, but a lot of the vegetation over there has regenerated itself, so we very rarely go over there, we just leave it to its own devices. So we've got about 152 species of birds that have been recorded at Laratinga Wetland, and some of them are threatened nationally, and we have some migratory birds that come all the way from Siberia or Japan, the Latham snipe that comes here, so it's pretty special when it arrives. And we've got 4 species of frogs here at the moment, obviously some long-necked turtles and a lot of reptiles. Quite a special animal refuge, especially when in drought.
Do you guys actually take surrendered, like turtles and things like that?
No, we don't. We've got enough of our own.
we took 24 from rehabilitation from the Meningi Primary School, which took them out the lower lakes a few years ago when they had encrusted with that worm, and we released them here in Laratinga. But that's the only sort of rescue effort we've actually made.
But people do bring their unwanted ducks and farm animals here sometimes. So you saw there's a white one and a black one when you came in, and it causes a little bit of controversy with the bird watchers here. You know, they don't want them here. They don't want crossbreeding. And Laratinga is known internationally now for its bird watching. So people from overseas come specifically to see the birds here.
And so if people want to book a tour and things like that, do they go through council?
Yeah.
Come in spring. Spring's beautiful.
Yeah,
it really is good.
Not so chilly.
Pretty quiet at the moment.
It gets colder than this.
Some have got even better hangover. You probably remember me speaking earlier about Laratinga being breaking up into 3 different ponds, and each pond is divided into cells. The reason being that for 2 reasons. One is to bank the water up, so it opens the water up to sunlight, so the sunlight can do its bit. But also we bank them up into cells that we can actually manipulate the environment out here, manipulate the water. Because it is a wetland and we do get constant infeeds of water, we can manipulate the system and manipulate the water level, so we can take it into a flood or we can take it into a drought and anywhere in between. And by doing that, inside these inspection ports here, there are valves, and each valve in these ports will drain a cell. So if I want the water out of this cell here for one reason or another, I can open that valve, and that will let the water through down to the next cell, and we can reduce the water level there even to a point of drying it out. So if I've got an introduced species of fish in there that we need to eradicate, we can reduce the water holding and then make it easily accessible to eradicate any fish species that we have in here that we don't want. We don't have any native fish species in the system, but we do have European carp, and European carp very devastating on a natural environment. And we did have an exercise a few years ago where we had to drain the system and eradicate the European carp. We took 3.5 tonne of carp out of the system.
Wow.
And they're back in here again. So it's another process we'll have to do, hopefully in the near future, to get rid of the carp. We don't know how they get in here. They do believe that some people will bring them in here and just let them in here as a nice little local fishing source. But also the eggs can be carried in on water birds. So from the Murray they'll come over here with their eggs on the water birds, they hit the water, the eggs are dispersed, and then they inhabit the place again.
So not only is Laratinga it has a purpose of sustainable water use and obviously is an ecological refuge for animals, but you notice that the extensive walking tracks around the wetlands. So there's 3 different tracks that people can come on, and we're doing the shortest one today. Usually it takes about 2 hours for a normal tour, but it also links up with the township of Mount Barker and Keith Stevenson Park, so it's part of an extensive trail network. So you'll often see people riding bikes and walking their dogs and rollerblading and lots of things through here. So it's also a really good place for passive and active recreation.
Is there any questions? Lovely, we'll keep going. It'll open up, it loops itself around to the big pond, which is pond 8, which has got the island in the middle. Further downstream we've got another pond set up, which is predominantly planted with Phragmites australis, which is a reed. And the reed is really good at reducing that nutrient load because it's so widespread throughout the pond. You see very little water, all you see is reed, and it reduces that nutrient load. That's the first place of impact that it has. It also acts as a filtration system as well. So if there's any algae bloom or any suspended matter that's actually built up through the serpentine channel, it's caught in the reed, so they deal with it there, reduce the nutrient load, clean up the water, and then it's discharged out into pond 2 and so forth. You probably see as you're walking through this track down here, we've taken a lot of trees out. A lot of the acacias now in Laratinga have got an expectancy of about 10 to 15 years. They now come to the end of their life, so they're starting to die. They're full of borers, full of grubs, and they're just falling over. So what we're planning to do now is to remove the dead ones and then do some understory planting to regenerate that area. So that area is up through the back of Laratinga, which we don't touch at all, which are natural scrub. They regenerate themselves. We haven't got time today, so you can't see that, but maybe next time you come back in spring, we can do a 2-hour tour. So any questions? There are other wetlands in South Australia, but we are the only council in Australia, if not the Southern Hemisphere, that actually receive grey water, treat it, and then utilise it. A lot of councils will catch their storm water, put it through a wetland situation, and they'll charge an aquifer, or they'll release it on downstream. But the only council that treats grey water.
And it's quite a unique system in that we're the only ones that can alter the water levels in each different section as well. So, you know, if we do want to get rid of the carp in one area, we can make sure that there's water in other areas so that we don't completely dry it all out, so that the water birds still have somewhere to go during the drought.
But this is all pumped, is it, or is it natural gravity?
It's all natural gravity fed.
Is that right?
Yep. Yeah, the only pumping that takes place is it's pumped through the filtration system. Yep. Once it's come through the filtration, then it's left to gravity.
So this is gravity feed?
Still gravity feed. And one of the engineering feats is the natural water body just behind us. We couldn't interfere with that natural water body. We were allowed to put a path across, but to run pipes or to run a waterway through there, we couldn't. So that pipe dips down underneath the waterway, comes up the other side to the receiver point. So gravity forces that water back uphill.
How long was this in the planning before it was started to be implemented?
A number of years. Yeah, a number of years. They purchased the land, I think 97, and in 2000 it was complete.
That's good for council.
It was. But
Yeah, that's pretty quick.
it was a sense of necessity and urgency, and they had to get it done.
Yeah.
Get it done quickly.
Is there a charge for this course?
No.
Nope.
No, it's just,
Yeah.
it's free.
It's all
So
free.
you've got about 5 minutes to get back to the bus, so everyone needs to sprint.
So,